What's up, guys? NBA2K13 here, and I am bringing you a user versus CPU game on simulation all-star difficulty, Memphis Grizzlies, Los Angeles Clippers, as I give you my impressions and review of NBA2K13. Some guys within the community have already posted their thoughts and impressions and reviews and all that good stuff. And as I'm going through my settings here, and I mainly do this to see how my teammates are going to respond. I typically play as much on-ball defense as humanly possible. I like to be in control of how I'm defending a guy, but when I do these kind of settings here, I do them when I'm playing versus the CPU to see how the players are performing the tasks that I assign to the best of their ability and whatnot. And I like to do things like experiment with crazy cross matches. Like I have Tony Allen, who's one of the top on-ball defenders in the league, harassing Chris Paul, just to see if it'll work or not. But anyhow, my overall impression of the game is, well, let me backtrack a little bit. I'm primarily a online league gamer, and I'm using the Memphis Grizzlies because they're going to be a team that I'm using in online league. So I'm getting used to what they do. But overall, I feel this game is somewhere in between NBA 2K12 and NBA 2K11. It's better than NBA 2K12. I hated NBA 2K12. And I loved NBA 2K11. I don't like this game as much as NBA 2K11, but I like it a hell of a lot more than NBA 2K12. And I included a link to Roenics' review of the game because Roenic does what he does in his raw and uncut style, but his knocks on the game, his negatives, are pretty much identical to what mine are. But I'm going to first start out with the things that I do like about the game quite a bit. And the first thing is that the presentation and commentary are absolutely top-notch. It's really, really good. Probably the best I've seen in a sports game. The commentary flows and is organic sounding. You can tell that these guys are in the 2K studios, and instead of reading from scripts, are sitting down and calling the game as if they're calling a telecast. I mean, they say things about, Rudy Gay that me being a UConn Husky fan, a UConn Husky alum,
and add to that, Steve, it doesn't end.
They say things about Rudy Gay that you'd have to really know about Rudy Gay in order to, appreciate it. And it made me laugh a few times. But stuff like that, the crowd and the players react at appropriate times. The arenas are spot on. I haven't spotted anything that looks out of place. And everything just really flows together and is really in that broadcast flavor that 2K sports games seem to be able to execute very, very well.
I asked him how he was going to slow down
the offensive controls, once I got used to them, and this particular game was one of the earlier ones that I was playing, where I was literally playing and had the manual open at the same time. The tutorial is much more useful than the dang manual. The manual can actually confuse you, but once I started to get a feel of what I was doing, I really became a fan of the offensive controls. You can really pull some really sweet sequences off, and the most important thing is that I always felt like I was in control of what my guy was doing. If something happened out of context, it was usually because I didn't input it correctly, or because I was in an area on the floor where it couldn't work, or because there was a guy in my way and I couldn't get by him. Rudy Gay goes windmilling. Kissing the rim, MJ style.
Now that's nasty. How do you do?
Court spacing and play execution. Much better. Last year I had to at least initiate a play to get some halfway sense full court spacing and off-ball movement. You're not seeing, you know, power centers drifting out to the perimeter or coming off screens. And the play execution is much more crisp and fluid. You'll see I'm running through a set here, and basketball's a game of flow. You don't have to, nor should you, always run a play out to its conclusion, because if you see an advantage open up, by all means take it. But the actual execution is a lot more fluid, and the players are moving with a much more heightened sense of awareness, as opposed to in past years where even the most basic set play took, you know, damn near the entire shot clock to execute.
Nice face-up jump shot out to about 17 feet.
Here running another set, double screen here.
He's got to continue to grow.
Find some space and pop it. Well done.
And not look at those as something for somebody else to do.
So those aspects of the game I really enjoy a lot. The biggest problem area by far, in my view, is the rebounding logic, or lack of rebounding logic. There's no boxing out going on. You just see guys just flying around, swooping in to get, you know, rebounds. And oftentimes a guy who's in an ideal position to get a board gets out-rebounded by a guy who comes swooping in from off the screen or from a few feet away. You have this issue where, you know, point guards are skying for boards or ending up with rebounds over multiple big men. And we're not talking about point guards that have reputations for being good rebounders. We're talking about guys like Mike Conley, Tony Parker, Steve Nash getting rebounds in the paint over 7-footers. Rebounding is a major issue, and it results in you against a CPU getting slaughtered on the offensive glass, even if you adjust your crash board sliders. I've had my crash board sliders at times, you know, down to 0, and I'm still seeing the CPU just assault me on the offensive glass. And that leads me to the second biggest imbalance in the game, and that is fast breaks. When the CPU is in the open floor, they're gone. Gone. And they're going to end up with a high percentage shot and convert it virtually every single time. The CPU on the fast break is a Jamaican track team. You're not catching them. Again, more rebounding madness. And nothing you can do on your sliders and your coaching settings can stop them. They are just an unstoppable force in the open floor. Meanwhile, most of your fast break opportunities, you can get the occasional layup or dunk on a breakaway here and there, but the vast majority of your points in the fast break are going to come via pull-up jumper, because your guys slow down to catch the ball, they slow down to allow the CPU to catch up. The CPU still has textbook picture-perfect transition defense at all times, while your guys play transition defense like a bunch of fools. So the transition game is a huge area of imbalance, and in head-to-head games, you're both stuck with the boneheaded transition defense logic. Defensively, it's the same old.
Now here's Paul.
Players are able to slide off a defender still, which leads to what you know you'll be seeing online, people forcing their way into the paint until they get into a favorable position with LeBron or Durant or whoever to slide off you and either draw a foul or convert in the paint. Again, good play execution there, but I just didn't hit the shot, which is fine. You can live with that. And again, CPU just a force on the break.
Buck up and say it's not going to happen.
And plus, you adding to the defensive issues is you still have this, stuck in the mud effect that happens on defense, where your defensive player seems sluggish.
Pushes up. Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give him 2 chances.
Some of it is user error. The game will burn you for trying to crowd a player that you shouldn't be crowding, but more than enough of it is because there isn't a lack of there's a lack of fluidity between defensive stance changes and recovering, while the offensive player can slide off for you and still disrespect your positioning too much.
Outside Billups, he passes to Butler.
So those are the main plagues that are, hold on. Like again, I didn't slide out of the way there. The game forced me to slide out of the way. I was in perfect position, and you just saw what happened there. So that needs to be fixed. But I don't think we're going to be getting a fix for that anytime soon, because I've come to the conclusion a long time ago that if the same issues in the game continue to persist, it's more than likely because the developers can't fix them without just totally stripping down the code of the game. Again, Chauncey Billups assaults me on the fast break there to leak out. But you won't get those leak outs against a CPU. You can forget about that unless you're manually cherry picking.
There's 37 seconds left to play in the third.
Going through a set again. Good spacing, good movement. And the CPU plays good defense there.
Butler with the block.
No issue with that. But again, an instant 3-on-1 leak out.
Bledsoe passes to Butler, and there's the pass to Billups.
And that time I do get a steal, but look how fast they recover.
Now Arthur.
And I actually get a finish here. But compare the speed of that fast break, the ones you saw the CPU do. I mean, it's pretty self-evident. But the biggest problem of all is that every game seems to play out the exact same way. The game goes with a nice flow, a nice, even, fair give and take for about 3/4 of the game, but then the CPU begins its charge, and it's predictable. It doesn't feel organic, it doesn't feel like it's occurring in the natural flow of the game. It feels like it's occurring by script, where they're going to go on a 8-0, 10-2, 12-2 run. You know it's going to happen, and you can tell when it's happening. And you're powerless to stop it. You just have to kind of weather the storm and just kind of hold it off. I mean, yes, runs happen in NBA games, but it happens, for a variety of reasons. A team goes cold, a team gets careless or lazy, stops defending, or a team ratchets up the intensity. That's not the case in this game. You can be playing and executing flawlessly, but the game will artificially cause those second half and fourth quarter, flurries of the CPU to occur. But on the flip side, head-to-head, which I'll be spending the majority of my time, the game is a heck of a lot of fun to play. They return the functionality of online leagues back to the users, allowing us scheduling flexibility, greater ability to customize our settings and sliders, because you will need them.
you know, guys, Caron Butler was a solid addition
and
to the Clippers.
it eliminates
last year.
force-feeding
He signed a
us
three-year deal, which was
CPU
given that he was
games,
coming off
which is
major
what
knee
killed
surgery.
Online Association for me last year, because I'm not a fan of my player modes, superstar modes. They don't interest me.
A little over 2.5
I
minutes
want
have
to
passed here in
avoid
the fourth
online
quarter.
ranked games as much as possible,
And
because
Bayless kicks to
there's only
game.
so many times you can play the Lakers,
Offensive
Heat,
rebound.
Celtics, Thunder
Outside Conley.
before you just get
Three-pointer.
bored of it. And plus the
Kicks
way
it out
people
the
play
game.
online is what you expect in online ranked games. I mean, it's nothing new. Online ranked games and sports games suck in general. You're going to be dealing with quitters, cheesers, glitchers, guys who just want to paint, pound, and launch threes.
Pass to
And you'll be
Randall.
playing against the same 4 or 5
Back to
teams
Gay.
500 times.
Over Butler.
So
Another miss by Gay.
the
Clippers
fact that
trail by
online
4.
league functionality has been returned to the
Phillips gets the ball. And the
NBA
shot is
2K13 days is a great thing for me, because
good. Right side,
that's
Conley.
where the majority of my value for
Over
the game
Paul.
comes.
Another miss by Conley.
Man, a nice job there defensively.
That's pretty
just
much
getting
it
a
as
hand
far
up
as
enough
my
to bother the shot.
Yeah, that was
review
very
and
nice.
impressions of the
Impressive. It
game.
made it a much
Against the
more difficult
CPU,
shot.
Well placed.
you're going to have to
They got on the
greatly
floor a while ago, and they
adjust
just
the
haven't looked
rebounding
back.
sliders
Looky here. How about that one? That play. Take that
in order
play
to
and
balance
put it
things
in the
out.
alley-oop.
Otherwise, you're going to get
For future
crushed
reference.
on the offensive glass. I haven't run into
Put it on a platter for him.
too many issues passing the ball. Most of the time I'm able to pass the ball to who I want to. I very rarely use a bounce pass because I don't really feel too much of a need for it.
And it's Paul.
I just kind of feel like it's there
Take
just
the
to be
lead.
there.
And Butler gets
You
it to
still
go on
will
the
run
assist
into
by
some
Paul.
legacy issues with passing,
And it's
but not
6
as
points for Butler.
bad as it has
Memphis
been
trailing
in the
here.
past. But
And here is Conley.
I believe I touched upon pretty much everything that I wanted to touch upon.
Gay
Double team on
outside.
Zebo, get a clean look.
Three.
Again, you're not going to make the
Another
ball all the
miss by
time,
Gay.
but I like the spacing there, much improved, much less clutter, and the CPU does actually double team post players.
Outside for
How did
Griffin.
that? The rebounding is heinous.
Paul left side. Got a piece of stolen by Allen.
But back to what I was saying, like, CPU actually double teams post players when they get on a roll, so you won't be able to just slay the CPU with a dominant post-up player this year.
Right up.
Zebo finishes just bigger and stronger and able to get possession.
Here is Paul.
So once you get a handle on the offensive controls,
From downtown.
you're going to have a whole heck of a lot of fun on the offensive side of the court. And I get the leak out here because Phillips just simply misplayed the ball.
He loves to lock you up. Kevin,
But
they still got
defensively, you're
foul
going to see a
given.
lot of the same old frustrations, both in manual defense as well as how your teammates are responding off the ball.
The kick out to Phillips. Back to Paul.
As this game winds down,
Outside Phillips. Puts up a three.
Mr. Big Shot.
Knock in
You sent
the
Mr.
three.
Big Shot there, and I pulled this sucker out. So that's my review of the game. I give it an 8, 8.5 because of the functionality returning to Online Association and the offensive improvements. But I can't go any higher than that because of the defensive issues, the rebounding issues, the transition defense, and the complete imbalance between CPU transition offense and yours. But, you know, still a very good game. Not a bad game by any stretch, but a bit of a letdown in my opinion. So, there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you all later. Peace.